Good day, everybody. I saw this question, and this question is featured under the tag viral video. Now, the author works out the solution for this question, and this particular video has got the title stating that most people think they know the answer, but they don't. And then he works out the answer to be as -6 and outrightly states that this is the right answer. But apparently this is not the right answer. In other words, I should say this is not the only correct answer. For the fact that he is actually defining the complex roots in this fashion. He states that if you have a quantity, say -x, then this is equal to I times root of x. This is his definition. So he goes on to state that -4 can be written as I times square root of 4, and we all know square root of 4 is going to be 2. So this is 2, and you got an I there. And similarly, root of -9 is I times root of 9, which is going to be root of 9 is 3, and you got I there. And then subsequently he places the values there, 2 times I and 3 times I. 2 times 3 is 6. I into I is I squared. Since I squared is -1, so you get a negative value to be the outcome. Apparently, it is imperative to understand that we are not dealing with in the real world. We are dealing in the complex world. In the complex world, by definition, if you have root of -x, then it takes I times root of x to be one value. The other value is going to be negative I times root of x. So two possible values are there for a complex value of this fashion. It is imperative to understand that. Now, there might be people arguing why the square root function is always talks about the principal value. Of course, it is correct in a way, because square root, whenever you're talking about the square root function, it is actually a single valued function. Now, what do you mean by single valued function? Now, the best way to explain it is as follows. Now, when you are hitting 36 with the square root function, the outcome is going to be +6, not -6. Have that in mind. Now, you might be tempted to say that, okay, if x squared is equal to 36, then what are you going to say? Is not x is equal to -6 a value for this particular function? Yes, in that case, you need to understand the following. If I were to rewrite x squared is equal to 36 in this fashion, I'm going to write it in this manner. X squared -36 is equal to 0. Then this can be rewritten as x -6 and x +6 is equal to 0. Now, when I say x is equal to -6, what I'm referring to is x is equal to -6 is a solution to the equation, solution to, say, equation 2. And similarly, x is equal to +6 is a solution to 2. So there's a lot of difference between applying the square root function and solving an equation. So in this case, we are solving the equation for the variable x. So these two things are totally a different line of contention. So that is important to understand. And also, in the complex world, there is no such concept as principal root. Have it in mind. So what mistake the author has done is that the author has outrightly taken a positive value for defining root of -x. In other words, when he started to use root of -4, he outrightly states that root of -4 is positive I times root of 4. This is totally incorrect. You can't do that. In other words, what I'm trying to say is he should have also mentioned the total definition of a complex root, how exactly complex values behave when the square root function is subjected, or so a square root function is basically applied to them. So this is very critical, because if we do not have this definition, you won't be able to solve a system which has got complex roots. You wouldn't be able to get the check. And this is exactly what I've shown in the previous one of my previous videos. You can just check that out. Now, so having mentioned that, much important question here is, how are we going to evaluate an expression of this fashion? Square root of -4 times square root of -9. So as I mentioned to you, we have got square root of -4. Now this square root of -4 has got two possible values, and that would be I times root of 4. This is one value. The other one would be negative I times root of 4. So this is for square root of -4. Now, having obtained for the first quantity, let's move on to square root of -9. Now, square root of -9 has got two values. What are those? They are I times root of 9 and negative I times root of 9. So you need to look into all possible combinations of these values, and that would mean to say, if root of -4 takes I times root of 4, the first value, but root of -9 takes the second value. In this case, it's going to be negative I times root 9. So this is one case. The second case, if root of -4 takes the first value and root of -9 also takes the first value. So that's the next possibility, I times root of 9. Now coming to the second value, when root of -4 takes the second value, so let me write that down, negative I times root of 4, but root of -9 takes the first value, so it's going to be I times root of 9, and now root of -4 takes the same value, but root of -9 takes the second value. So this exhausts all possible combinations, and we will have to evaluate them. So let us find out the values. For the first case, I into I gives me I squared. There's a negative sign there, so place the negative sign, and then root of 4 will give me 2, and root of 9 would give me 3. 2 times 3 is 6, and you got 6 I squared with a negative sign, but we know that I squared is equal to -1, right? So upon substituting the value of I squared, we would get a positive 1 there. Now 2 times 3 is 6, so this is one of the solutions. Now moving on, over here I into I gives me I squared, and then root of 4 is going to be 2, root of 9 is going to be 3, 2 times 3 is 6, I place 6, I squared is -1, so -6 is the value. So this is one of the solution. Now coming to the third one, I into I squared, I got a negative sign here, place a negative sign. Root of 4 is 2, root of 9 is 3, 2 times 3 is 6, I squared is -1, but there is a negative sign, so I'm getting positive sign there, so it's positive 6. Coming to the last one, negative, positive, I into I squared, root of 4 is 2, root of 9 is 3, 2 times 3 is 6, I squared is -1, so we place a negative sign. Now clearly you can see all that you're getting is positive 6 and -6. Right? You don't have to take the other values. The other values is redundant of the value that we've already got, positive 6 and -6. So therefore, the conclusion is this: if we were to be given of 9, is going to be positive 6, -6, depending upon the combinations which I've shown you. So the all possible solutions should include positive 6 and -6. You cannot simply state outrightly -6 is the outcome and leave out positive 6. That is totally incorrect. And vice versa, you cannot simply state positive 6 is the outcome and leave out -6. You need to specify both the values. So that would constitute the correct answer for this all important so-called viral question. Thank you everybody. Enjoy your night.